All right. So the next question can get a little personal, but what is something that most people don't realize you struggle with?
I am really terrified about the concept of death and forever. I don't understand how people can be content with dying, and even though I understand that I'm going to die, it's just something that I do my best not to think about. I often will not go to bed until I'm so tired that I literally am not able to like keep my eyes open because if I let my mind wander for too long, then it starts to ask those questions, and then it becomes impossible to sleep.
Yeah.
Um, I may have to deal with it sooner than most people because my mother died at age 40 from a genetic disease, Lou Gehrig's disease, that our family has lost 23 members over 3 generations from. I haven't gotten tested to know if I have the gene for it yet, but I know that there's a 50% chance that I have it. And if I have it and it decides to activate, I'm just dead. There's no cure, there's no treatment, there's nothing to slow it down. They've been working their asses off trying to find one. But there is that kind of I don't know how I've dealt with this long for without having it cripple me, but just the fact that I'm 31 years of age right now, I may be less than a decade away from my grave. And most people like to think that they're going to be alive to be at least 65 if they're being depressed. I don't want to say depressed if they're being conservative about it. Maybe 80, 85, 90 if they're being hopeful. I may not even have that. I may be in the final 25% of my lifespan, and that's horrifying. And then probably the third one to round it out is just this constant fear that my wife will eventually figure out that I'm a relatively boring person who tends to enjoy a lot of the same things consistently. I get enjoyment out of just doing stuff at home rather than going out, or that she'll find someone who is more fulfilling to her life than I am, or just like does things that she has wanted, or I should say introduces her to things that she didn't realize she wanted but that I can't provide. And that just as things in life change, our friend circles change, our hobbies and interests change, that it's just a matter of time until she decides she's tired of me and moves on. And she gives me plenty of reasons to feel better about it, but that doesn't prevent those thoughts from creeping in of like, you know, 10 years of marriage is a long time. You've only been married for like 5 at this point. You know, what is 15, 20 years of being together? Most of us can't stand our college roommates after 2 years. That's why solo dorms are so popular nowadays. So those would probably be the three things that often sit on my head. And this is probably the first time where my answer, I don't know if this answer is healthy. You can be the one to inform me. But often my solution is to just focus on keeping myself busy enough that I don't have time to think about it. Um, whether it's the gaming that keeps me distracted, or it's, being focused on pleasing the client so that I have more work, so that I have more money. Um, I guess it kind of awkwardly falls back into that phrase of, what stuff do you not have control over? I can't really control when I die, besides looking both ways when I cross the street. Um, if I have the genetic strain of Lou Gehrig's disease, I don't have control unless they come up with a treatment for it. And obviously, if at some point they do, then hop on that shit and find out if you can get onto the program. Um, and if you're feeling like you are not providing the things that your spouse wants, then you can talk to them and ask them how they're feeling. And if they tell you that you're doing what you need to do to make them happy, then it's not really my business to say, well, I don't trust that, because then what was the point of even fucking asking them in the first place? So I just take care of the things that I have control over, and the things that I don't, I do my best to not give them the time of day.
No, I think that sounds great. And, obviously there's always I guess, pathological level of overworking yourself, but it sounds like you've kind of enmeshed this idea of having fun while you work, which I think is a great thing. And I
Mhm.
think, keeping yourself busy is definitely a good trait as long as it doesn't burn you out. And in fact, I mean, I won't be super geeky and slight research or whatnot, but that is, something that people recommend. And I think that's amazing that you do that. And yeah, for also what it's worth, just from what I've seen of your amazing fan base, I mean, you seem like an incredible person. So I'm sure your wife is extremely lucky, as you are, to have her as well. Sweet. So if you could spread a message to the entire world, and what would that message be? And I guess I'm gonna take away the option to say that, you know, what did you say earlier? That don't panic, or less panic, more play. I'm gonna
Right.
take that away.
Play, don't panic.
Yes.
No, don't worry. I had something different. Remember that every single day you have a finite amount of both time and energy that you are able to spend, either on yourself, on people around you, on the things that are important to you. And I feel like this is especially more relevant in the digital age with stuff like social media and Facebook and Twitter and stuff like that. Um, you have a finite amount of time and energy each day. So anytime that you're deciding whether or not to engage with something or someone, ask yourself whether you would rather spend that time uh building up the things that, excuse me, water burps. I'm going to start over. Ask yourself whether you would rather spend that time building up and helping to improve the things that you enjoy and the people and communities that matter to you, or if you'd rather spend it defending yourself against the people and communities that want to make you feel bad for what you enjoy. Now, obviously, there's all kinds of caveats, like if what you enjoy comes at the expense of other people's happiness, and I mean like their ability to live their own lives, then obviously, I'm not going to tolerate that. I'm not going to tolerate intolerance. I'm not going to tolerate sexism or racism or stuff like that. But if what you're doing makes you happy and it doesn't directly interfere with other people's lives, then you know just focus on that instead. Don't spend your time on the people who want to make you feel like garbage for doing what you enjoy. Spend it on giving back to the communities that give you those things that you enjoy. So that's also long-winded. So like I said, uh make sure that you spend your time and effort on the people and places that help make your life more enjoyable, um than fighting back against the people that want to make it feel like shit.
Yeah, no, that's great. And it's funny you say that, because oftentimes I feel like the people who kind of give you shit, no matter what you do, they're gonna kind of always give you shit. So it's
Right.
kind of like a never-ending cycle. I think
It
that's
is it
yeah,
is way easier to celebrate with people who already enjoy the same things you do than to try and convince people who don't like you or don't like the things that you do to start liking them.
yeah. No, I agree completely. That's a great answer. Um, who are some people you look up to and why?
Um oh man. I It's a hard answer for me, and it's ironic that it's a hard answer for me because especially in my industry, there should be like specific actors that I look up to or admire. Um, I just try and learn from everyone, to be honest. Like maybe there's someone that has a really good work ethic, or is really amazing at a certain way of working that I want to embody, even if I don't agree with how they act in social situations. Or maybe there's someone who's, extremely kind and really admirable in the way that they make time for the people around them, even if I disagree with how they go about handling, big stresses in their lives and stuff like that. Um, so I'm really kind of a vocal parrot when it comes to that. Is I surround myself with the folks who on some level have a quality that I want to embody, or that are the kinds of people that I want to emulate more often. And I figure out what parts of them that I appreciate, and I admire them for that, and I build them up on that to their faces. Um, but I also try to see what I can take from it and internalize and adapt into my own development as a person. And so that's how I think I've become the person that I am today, and how I continue to grow is just by this continuous process of taking the best qualities of the people that I interact with and asking, why do I admire those qualities so much, and then asking, how can I make them into qualities of my own as well.
No, that's incredible. Thank you for sharing that. So something that can sometimes be helpful to people is to hear something comforting, that might make them feel a little less alone. I wonder if there's something you could say that whoever's watching this would help them feel even just a little less alone.
The gamer in me phrases it as, remember that every day that you're still here is a new personal best record in consecutive number of days alive. Um, but also the one that I really fall back on is remember, no matter what situation or trouble you're facing, the fact that you're here means that you have successfully overcome every single challenge that came before now. You have a perfect record of managing to make it through. Maybe it was a C rank on the result of the mission versus an A rank, but you still made it. You didn't game over. You're here. So take that knowledge and take that energy and use it to fuel yourself, saying, I've survived everything before now. I'm going to survive this too. Um, Really, that there's no rambling on that, because that's where it is.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. Thank you. And then I believe the final question, and then you're free. This has been like prisoner. Um, what is the hardest situation that you've encountered?
Figuring out how to say goodbye to someone and have it take less than 3 minutes. I feel like that's a uniquely Midwest problem too.
Uh,
Um,
it's definitely also an Indian problem. We joke that when parents say goodbye, that means that they're going to start brewing the tea before for their goodbye tea, and then after they finish that, then there's another round of goodbyes before they do another kind of oh wait, you forgot to pack some food. So definitely feel that there's multiple. Yeah, whenever it's goodbye, it's like, is this the first, the third, the fifth? So I definitely feel that.
man, what a hard question to finish up on. What is the hardest situation I've encountered? I don't I don't know. Like I don't even feel like this is a proper answer, because it's I would want this to be something that others can relate to, rather than being specific to my industry. Um and it, at the end of the day, like, I know as I describe this, it's not going to sound like that big of a deal compared to everything else that I'm doing, but it's almost a conceptual situation. It's this idea that with so much of the world available at our fingertips, and with a career that I have that is so public, it is this knowledge that no matter what I do, there are going to be points in my life where I screw up, where I say something inappropriate, or I didn't really think about, the secondhand effects of something that I say or do. And even though I have a good intent, and I'd like to think I have a good heart, that I'm going to end up making a fool of myself in one way or another. And the knowledge that whether there are bad agents out there, or whether it's just a matter of being held accountable for what I said or what I did, um, that there will be moments in my life where I have to face repercussions. And I'm trying not to word it as if they're going to be people who want to take me down, that want to ruin my career. Because if they're holding me accountable to something that I did, that's not cancel culture, that's accountability culture.
Right.
Um, but it's this kind of knowledge that there's not really anything I can do except the best that I can. And I know that sounds vague, so I'm going to be willing to give a couple specific examples. There is a company that, to my knowledge, refuses to work with me, has already blacklisted me from auditioning for them. Because when I worked with them, I gave off this vibe of being too much of a fanboy to be trusted with confidential information. And a part of it is just who I am. I know how to keep a secret. I know how not to jeopardize my entire career by leaking info that could cost a company hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars. But this company doesn't think I can be trusted with it, so they just don't, and I never get a chance to work with them. There is an event that, to my knowledge, I will never be able to do volunteer work for again, because someone who I got on the bad side of took it really personally and decided to file a bunch of sexual harassment claims, like as a group, to that event. And even though nothing was ever proven, obviously, the group acted in their or the event acted in their best interests and removed me because I was too much of a risk factor. And there's nothing that I can do to get that back, to get them to listen to me. Um, and there's just the idea that whether or not I'm aware of it, there may be colleagues of mine who really just don't like me, or don't like something that I did. I remember there was one colleague who we are very close friends now. We're great colleagues who admitted to me that they were scared shitless to even approach me at first because of what they had heard about me from others. And I had no idea the entire time. And I'm just grateful that they gave me a chance. So that's really what makes it such a hard situation, is just this knowledge of there will be times where my only defense against people or accusations or situations is my own track record, you know? Like I don't want to be like extreme about this, but right now there could be someone going to someone else and saying, I heard that, you know, Sean Chiplock, likes going after underage fans. Cause like my wife, it tends to be a shorter person. I've had people who thought that she was underage, which is really unfair to her. But it's not outside of the ballpark for someone to be like, oh yeah, he only likes being with his wife because she looks like someone who's underage or something like that, like something fucked up like that. And my only defense is going to be that person possibly going back and saying, well, that's kind of really concerning. Do you have proof of this? Like, do you have evidence? And I just think about all of those potential conversations, all of those potential um I don't want to say battles, but engagements that happen without my knowledge. And I it's part of what fuels me to just go, hey, well, what do you have control over? Here we go, the callbacks.
Yeah.
What do you have control over? How you act, how you present yourself, what you do in professional situations. So what can you do? All right, I'm going to do the best I can to be consistent, whether that's being helpful or informative or transparent. I'm going to ask myself, what risks does this action have? What risks am I willing to take? And then when you screw up, be accountable, hold yourself accountable, be open about it, apologize, and just try and have faith that by being the best person that you can be, it will act as your shield when people want to try and make you out to be less than who you are.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And that actually ties back to another answer you gave about positive karma and kind of, building that up as sort of to attenuate, when in Indian culture we call it the evil eye,
Right.
when when that kind of force kind of comes to you. And for what it's worth, you mentioned that it might be a little industry specific. So I was a Starbucks barista for 4 years, and you know, um, a lot of places tend to have a gossip culture, fortunately or unfortunately. Sometimes it's entertaining, but sometimes it can get
Right.
really out of hand.
Right.
But one of my favorite kind of pieces of gossip I heard about myself was that so I'm a Scorpio, and allegedly Scorpios are manipulative and secretive, and I don't know, it kind of sounds cool, I'm not gonna lie. But so allegedly there was some conversation about how I was so manipulative and scheming and all this. And I had a coworker who probably could have said more, but tried to kind of downplay it and say that, well, he really likes those strategy RPGs. Maybe that's why he comes across that way. So I mean, I kind of like that defense. I'm not gonna lie.
Right.
But no, it's kind of terrible sometimes that one person's bad kind of view can really kind of become a malignant, and really kind of dissemble some of the great things you've done. But for what it's worth, just looking at your presence online, looking at how you interact with fans, and looking at everything else, the fact that you're doing this interview, you seem like a wonderful person,
Aw.
professionally. And
I
I
mean,
think,
go ahead. Go ahead.
oh, I was just gonna keep on complimenting and say that, I mean, even squirrels know to trust you. I truly think, you come across with a very positive kind of energy, and
Uh-huh.
it sucks that there's going to be people who may not see it that way. But like you said, when you constantly just keep on doing the best you can and with good intentions, usually wins out. It takes forever sometimes,
Right.
but it
It's
usually
led
does.
to some amusing situations as well. I mean, I wouldn't call this amusing. I'm sure a lot of people would like panic. Um, unfortunately, as a result of being thrown under the bus during discussion of a different actor a year or two ago, there was a point where a group of people decided to try, or not try, they succeeded in doxing me, like posting all of this private or personal public information online, uh, and with the intent of trying to like embarrass or like cause a big issue with me. And the worst of what they found was that I had paid artists for adult artwork of myself and my spouse, because I love my wife and I like, the intimacy that we share together. And literally, like that was the worst thing that they could find. And so about like 2 weeks after the doxing attempts started, it just kind of died because there was nothing. There was
Yeah.
nothing that they could play. There was nothing they could run with. There was nothing that they could hammer home and like make people go, "Oh my God, I never knew that about him. That's so, bad. That's so unacceptable." So it just made me laugh because it was that defining moment of, I be the best person that I can be and I be consistent so that, when people bring up, "Did you know that he does this thing that's like weird?" And other people will be like, "Okay,
Yeah.
all right, what? All right, okay."
Yeah. No, it's, I won't go into whole projections and all that, but just going to say that you kind of touch on like cancel culture, and the idea of doxing is just very toxic in my opinion. But, I think again, it speaks to your great character that if that was the worst thing they could find, I mean, that really just speaks that they were kind of, I
So
think,
that's my goal. I'm great. I'm almost kind of grateful it happened because that gave me like the mental note of, hey, assume that anything that you do or say at some point could become part of a future doxing attempt. So don't give them any reason to have any ammo to use against you. So I like that it gives me something to focus on going forward.
yeah, no, that's incredible. But yeah, I think we have taken up enough of your time. So thank you so much. I honestly appreciate you spending your time kind of talking to me and collaborating with Project Robin. And, I look forward to seeing all the more awesome things you do. And hopefully it doesn't involve throwing up your chicken noodle soup again. But, clearly it made an impact. So
Thank you.
thank you.
No, thank you. I appreciate it.
Of course.